Welcome back to the STR Loophole show. I'm Arda Bircan, and today we are talking about something that I think is the single biggest blind spot in the short-term rental investing right now. Here's the question. If your short-term rental is generating solid cash flow, let's say 60,000 net a year, is that a good deal? Most people would say yes. Realtors or lenders would say yes. Social media would definitely say yes. But the answer is, it depends entirely on how much capital you put in and whether the property actually went up in value. Today, I'm going to walk you through the two metrics that have to work together for a deal to truly be worth your time, your money, and your risk. Cash flow and forced appreciation. And I'm going to show you exactly what happens when you chase one and ignore the other. Let's get into it. If you are a high-income professional, a doctor, an executive, you are probably looking at short-term rentals because you want your money working harder than a savings account and smarter than the stock market while lowering your taxable income substantially. You are busy, you want an asset that builds wealth, not just one that keeps the lights on. Short-term rentals are the number one asset class to invest in for high W-2 earners today. What makes them compelling for high-income professionals is the combination of three things working together: cash flow, forced appreciation, and the tax benefits associated with short-term rentals. The ability to offset your W-2, RSUs, or 1099 income with paper losses through depreciation, take any one of those three away, and the case for short-term rentals gets a lot weaker. This is exactly why how you buy matters so much. You need all three levers pulling in your direction. Here's where most investors go wrong. They find a property, they run the numbers on rental income as opposed to operating costs. They see a positive number and they stop there. They call it a deal. But that cash flow number tells you almost nothing about whether you build wealth. It only tells you if you are covering your costs and pocketing something beyond that. Let me give you a real life example. Here's what an emergency medicine physician as well as a real estate investor actually did. He found a property listed at 600K in a mountain vacation market. A realtor told him that if he invested heavily in renovations, design, and amenities, he could push the rental revenue to 200K or more per year and get all his money back through a refinance. So he went all in. He spent $400,000 improving the property, high-end designer, custom decor, top-tier amenities, all in at $1 million. The property ran well. He netted $65,000 a year after all expenses. His physician friends were impressed. His realtor was celebrating with him on social media. Sounds like a win, right? Now, ask yourself, what is this property actually worth? You spent $400K making it a top-tier STR. But appraisers don't care about your Airbnb revenue. They look at comparable sales in the area. And if the comps in that neighborhood max out at 850,000, that's what your property is worth, not $1 million, 850. So you are sitting at $1 million all in and the assets is worth 850K. You are immediately underwater by 150K before you ever pay the realtor or closing costs to sell. If life happens, a regulation change, a market downturn, a health issue, a divorce, whatever, and you need to exit, you lose money, period. Sell at 850K, pay the typical 8 to 10% in realtor commissions and closing costs. That's 75,000 to 85,000 gone before you see a dime. Your only play is to hold and pray nothing changes. Well, that's not wealth building. That's a hope as a strategy. So, what's the metric that fixes this? It's ARV, after repair value. ARV is simply the appraised market value of your property after all improvements are made. It's not what you hope it's worth. It's not what your Airbnb revenue might imply. It's what a licensed appraiser will put on paper based on comparable properties in that market. And here is the rule I want you to walk away with. Every dollar you invest into a property should ideally come back to you in an appraised value. In other words, if you spend $400,000 improving a property, that property should be worth at least $400K more when you are all done. If it isn't, you haven't built wealth. You have just built cash flow. Now, cash flow is important. Don't misread me. You need income from the property. But cash flow without appreciation means you are completely exposed. You have one exit strategy. Hold the property indefinitely and hope the income keeps flowing. Forced appreciation gives you options, and investing options are everything. When your ARV exceeds your all-in cost, you can 1. Hold it, cash flow it, and build long-term wealth from a position of strength. 2. Sell it if you ever need to and walk away with your capital intact or better. 3. Do a cash out refinance, pull your capital back out, and redeploy it into your next deal without selling. This is how you scale. 3 options as opposed to 1. That's the difference forced appreciation makes. Here's what most people get wrong. They think all improvements increase property value. They don't. Beautiful furniture, curated interiors, high-end linens, amazing photos, those things drive rental revenue on Airbnb and VRBO. They absolutely matter for the STR business, but appraisers don't give you credit for that. They look at bones of the property. So what actually moves appraised value in residential real estate? Number 1, legal bedroom count. Adding a legal bedroom properly permitted with a closet, egress window, and proper heating and cooling increases appraised value meaningfully. This is one of the most reliable ways to force appreciation. Number 2, bathrooms. Adding or updating bathrooms moves the needle, especially in larger properties where the bedroom to bath ratio matters. Number 3, ADUs, accessory dwelling units. A properly permitted guest house, garage apartment, or attached suite adds significant value because it's additional rentable square footage that appraisers can measure. Number 4, structural improvements. A new roof, updated HVAC, foundation work. These are not sexy. They do not add glam, but they remove risk from the appraiser's perspective, and they do add value. Number 5, pools and fixed outdoor structures. In the right markets, a pool or a covered outdoor entertainment area adds real appraised value. This is market dependent. Always verify what the comps show. So when you are evaluating a property, you need to apply 2 tests to every dollar you plan to spend. Test 1, will this improvement move the appraised value? Test 2, will this improvement drive rental revenue? Ideally, you are spending most of your capital on improvements that pass both tests, things that optimize for appraised value and guest experience at the same time. The mistake is dumping the majority of your renovation budget into improvements that only pass test 2, things like gourmet kitchens, amenities, and basically ignoring test 1. You end up with a property that cash flows well on Airbnb, but that no appraiser will give full credit to. Let me walk you through what a well-structured deal looks like. When you are running both metrics, you find a property in a proven vacation market, a ski town, a mountain destination, an established beach market where there is a meaningful price spread. What I mean by that, you're not buying at the top of the market. There are properties selling for 1.2 million nearby, but you are acquiring one at 900K because it's underutilized, dated, or being sold by an estate. You run the numbers and identify that by adding 2 legal bedrooms, legalizing an existing unpermitted space, and adding a pool, you can get this property to appraise for 1.4 or 1.5 million. That's your ARV target before you spend a dollar. You also model the rental revenue at that bedroom count, and with those amenities, comparable STRs in that market, let's say, are generating 280K to 320K gross per year. After expenses, you are netting 100K to 120K annually. Now you have both cash flow that justifies the investment and a property that's worth more than what you put into it. If you need to exit for any reason, you're not trapped. If you want to scale, you can pull out capital through a refinance and deploy it into the next deal. If you want to simply hold, you are collecting strong income on an appreciating asset. That's what a real deal looks like. And here's the point I want to drive home. As a high earner, you don't have time to babysit a marginal deal. You do not have time or bandwidth to stress about whether a regulatory change wipes out your only exit option. You want to buy well, deploy your capital efficiently, and know that the asset works for you, even if your management is not perfect. The way you get there is buying with forced appreciation already in your plan, not as an afterthought. So, where to look for deals? Practically speaking, where do you find properties with real ARV upside? Look for markets with a price spread. You want areas where there are homes selling at a wide range of price points, not markets where everything has appreciated so aggressively that even the fixer-uppers are priced at the ceiling. If the worst house in town is 90% of the price of the best house, there is no room to force appreciation. Traditional vacation markets tend to have better spreads. Ski markets, mountain towns, established lake destinations, these are markets with a track record, not trend chasing. Real demand exists and the supply of undervalued properties is more consistent. Look for motivated sellers and underutilized assets. Estate sales, inherited properties, long vacant properties, or properties with unpermitted structures that can be legalized. These are where you find the buy-in below market value that gives you instant equity before you even start the renovation. And always know your market's comparable sales cold before you run your improvement budget. Your ARV projection is only as good as your understanding of what buyers in that market actually pay for improved properties. Here is what I want you to take away today. Cash flow tells you whether you can make money operating the assets. Forced appreciation tells you whether you build wealth acquiring it. You need both. Before you buy a short-term rental, ask yourself, what's my ARV targets? How much am I spending on improvements? Does my projected after repair value cover my all-in cost? If you cannot answer that confidently, you're not ready to buy the deal. Our clients are winning right now, not just because they have the most attractive listings, but because we help them buy correctly. So no matter what happens in the market, they still have the options. That's it for today's episode of the STR Loophole Show. If this was valuable to you, please like and subscribe to our channel. Also, please share this with one person who's currently evaluating a STR deal. It might save them from a very expensive mistake. I'm Arda Bircan. I'll see you on the next one.